Okay, so we are live, guys. I hope so that you are able to see me now. It's visible. Yep. Welcome back to our channel Code is Arcade, guys. This is Ashank David, and welcome to our final live session for our mastering of C++ object oriented programming. Today I will be finishing up everything related to object oriented, and this is going to be our last live session for our OOPS, object oriented programming concept. So if you are interested really and you have missed all the previous episodes, then I have already created a playlist called as Mastering C++ Object Oriented, and there I have kept all the things there. So without any further ado, you can go ahead there and then understand and learn from that those videos that I have already created. Those videos are already recorded and kept at one place. So if you have any issues, please do let me know in the comment section below, and let us start our last I'm saying DSA, again and again I'm saying DSA, last C++ object oriented. On the other hand, I am also going to do DSA also. So I'm doing DSA right now. Every day at 6 o'clock I do come live. So that is the thing there. So if you are interested in learning DSA also, and if you think that DSA you will be able to do, so you can learn from it, and if you want to get a job, you of course need DSA. So for that reason we will be seeing DSA also after 1 hour, that is from 6 o'clock. So if you have any issues or anything related to anything, any topic, please do let me know, and I will be trying to help you out with your doubts or anything. Without any further ado, let's get right into the topic. Oh, one more thing I would like to tell you about is that please do like and share this stream as much as possible, so that this stream can reach to multiple peoples around, so that they can also learn C++ object oriented. So if you haven't sent, please do send them. This will help us to grow on YouTube, as well as it will allow others also to learn these concepts which I am teaching all for free. So now let's get right into the topic, guys. So in our last class, that is our yesterday's class, I have talked about the inheritance part, and I hope so that that is very much clear. So for those people who have not seen that, it was yesterday's video, and I will be putting the link and all of that in the description below. So please go ahead and watch that. That is day 4. This is going to be session 5 and day 5 and the last day for this. And today we are going to complete our polymorphism, abstraction and encapsulation also in C++. Remember, I am reminding you again and again, for DSA this is very much important. So please do not miss any other concept as well. Well, I hope so that each and everything here, it is very much clear about the screen. If there is any issue or problem related to the screen and the clearness or the sharpness of the screen, please do let me know. I will be adjusting the camera for that. Right now I hope so that it is very much clear. If by chance any issue happens, please do let me know. Okay, now let us start working on to from where we have left. Let me open my Microsoft Whiteboard, or I don't have to require actually Microsoft Whiteboard in this case. I'll use Microsoft Whiteboard in this case. Okay, we'll see. Microsoft Whiteboard. Alright, so here we have our day 5. Just a minute, guys, I'm gonna make it like this. Now I hope so that this is very much clear. Okay, fine. So today's topic which we are going to do is going to be our C++ object oriented programming. Object oriented programming. And in this object oriented programming, we have already done our inheritance concept. Today we are gonna continue from polymorphism. And we are going to do our abstraction and fourth, encapsulation. Okay. All right. So we have already done and finished up our inheritance concept. So if you have any doubts, please do let me know onto this. Apart from this, today we will continue with polymorphism. If we go and look towards our previous class, actually I just started with polymorphism. Okay. What I have explained you in polymorphism, let me write it again here. We started with polymorphism. You see, poly and morph, there are two words in this case. It's what? It's a Greek word. It's a Greek word in Greek. Polymorphism means many forms. Here poly means many and morphs means forms, or you can say shapes. Okay? Understood? So here the meaning comes as many forms. In real life, we use this concept. In real life, what we do? We use this concept. How do we use this concept? You see, I have given you a good real world example where I have told you that in real life, in polymorphism, what happens is that you are polymorphic in nature in general in real life. Okay. How come? You see that we have multiple forms of us which we show up in different scenarios. For example, right now in front of me, you are a student, but this is your image of a student. But when you go back to your home, in your home you are a kid in front of your parents. So in this case you have two forms. One is the kid form and another is the student form. So this is told that you are polymorphic in nature now. Understood that? If you have any doubts, please tell me right now. I can say that I am polymorphic in nature in real life because I can only teach you C, I can only teach you C++, I can only teach you Java, I can only teach you Python. Then why the hell this company would require any other trainer to teach you different stuff? I am polymorphic in nature, I can perform many different tasks, I have many forms which will allow me to be versatile in many different scenarios. I hope so that this is very much clear. Apart from this, in terms of programming, if you see, then polymorphism plays a very important role because there a lot of concepts like overloading and overriding can be achieved and can be understood really clearly. Okay. Sir, session 4 is not visible in the playlist. Okay, I believe that it might be by accident, it might have been on private, but don't worry, after this session I will make all the videos public. The session is there, but it might be private, Brijesh. So don't worry, I will make it public. No worries, I will do that just after this live session. So after 1 hour, this live session goes for 1 hour till 5 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock this session will also be recorded at the same time that this session will also be put it into the same playlist where all the other videos are created. Don't worry, it is there, I just have to make it public. So I will make it public very soon. Okay. Yes, let us continue in our last session of this, and today I will be explaining you about polymorphism. As I told you, polymorphism means many different forms of many different things. So this allows those people to do multiple things. In this case, in terms of programming, when we are talking about in terms of programming in polymorphism in C++, we try to make functions polymorphic in nature. What do we try to make? Functions polymorphic in nature. You already know what a function is, right? A function is something which does a particular task, and when we are trying to make functions polymorphic in nature, then we try to make those functions do multiple tasks. Let's see an example. Yesterday I have taken one example, but today I am going to explain you from the beginnings, from the scratch. So listen to this very carefully. Okay. So you have understood this, what is polymorphism, right? So polymorphism is what? It's a Greek word. Many forms is the name and the meaning, and this means that something has many different forms of it. Acha, one more thing guys, remember, very important part, polymorphism is a very important topic. Generally, in terms of interviews, this is a very commonly asked concept. So, if you don't know about polymorphism, then that can be very lethal in terms of interviews. I will share you my personal experience. Once upon a time I was teaching in a class, and there I was doing polymorphism in the class. At the same time, one girl from my class, one student girl from my class had an interview at that time, and when she went for the interview, at that time I was teaching polymorphism in the class. She left for the interview, and in the interview at the same time when I was teaching polymorphism in the class, she was asked the same question of polymorphism, what is the polymorphism, what is the type of polymorphism. Because of that, she did not crack the interview. So, this was a story, this had happened multiple times. Polymorphism is a very important concept, and without this you think that you cannot go into an interview. Very commonly asked question, and 110% we can guarantee you that it will be asked if object oriented programming is touched a little bit also. Polymorphism is a real asked question and very important question for our interviews. Understood this? Okay. Apart from this, let's continue. Okay. So, in this case, this is what we have understood, that polymorphism is what it is. It means many different forms. It means many different forms. Now, speaking of polymorphism, what do we try to make polymorphic in nature? We try to make functions polymorphic in nature. What happens? What happens when we do this? Then functions, then function can perform many tasks depending upon the scenario. I hope so that this is very much clear, that we try to make functions polymorphic in nature, and when we try to make functions polymorphic in nature, those functions can do multiple different tasks. And let's see what I am trying to say. Okay, I am going to take up an example. This example I have explained you already in the yesterday's class, but because I am starting with it from the scratch, so I would like to just explain you that one more time. Example: suppose we have created a class called as India. We have a class called as India, okay, and in this India class I have a function called as void capital. Now this is the function, correct? This is the function void capital. Now inside this function I have written cout. What is the capital of India? New Delhi. So I send New Delhi. Okay, I have done something like this. Okay, this is one class. This is class India. Now I have said that there is another class called as USA. Okay, and I have written the same exact function. I have written what? I have written the same exact function. I will copy it and I will paste it right here. I have kept the same function in the another class, but the difference is that it will print something else actually. Okay, it will print something else. What it will print? Now USA's capital is not New Delhi, but USA's capital is Washington DC, correct? What is the capital of USA? Washington DC, correct? Understood? So what I have done is, you see that first of all I have created an India class, and in this India class the capital is New Delhi. Saw that? Okay. And in this case of USA has Washington DC, correct? So you see that, observe one thing, that in both the classes India and USA I am writing capital and capital same name functions at both the classes, in both the classes, but their bodies are different. One is printing New Delhi and another is printing Washington DC. Okay. So now imagine in this case I created the object of India. Obj of I means object of India, and if you try to access this capital saying obj of I dot capital, obj of I dot capital, then what will happen? What will be printed? It will print New Delhi. It will print New Delhi. On the other hand, if you try to make the object of USA class, so obj of U, so if I say here obj of U dot capital, then this will print what? This will print Washington DC. You understood the difference here? You see one thing that is very much common in this case, and what is that? You see the same capital function and capital function are being used in this case. There is only one function named capital who is printing both New Delhi also and Washington DC also. See the similarities in this case. Understood? So what is happening is, when object of India is calling, the capital is printing New Delhi, but when the object of USA is calling capital, then it is printing Washington DC. So in this example, can I say that capital can do two tasks now? One is to print New Delhi and another is to print Washington DC, correct? So can I say that this function capital has become polymorphic in nature? Yes, I can say that this function is now polymorphic in nature. So we are trying to do this only. We are trying to make functions polymorphic in nature inside our program so that they can do multiple tasks, and this is the use of polymorphism majorly. I hope so that this is very, very much clear. Now, but I am trying to create the function which is polymorphic in nature, but you tell me how we will do that, how it is possible. It is possible because, how it is possible? It is possible when you write same name, multiple functions of same name into two different classes or in one same class. Okay. What I am trying to say is, that sir, is this will be the full detailed course in OOPS since I am a beginner? Sonia, I have read that comment. It's okay. Yes, I have taught everything in detail, and don't worry, whatever I have taught, that is enough for starting your DSA concept. If you are very beginner to this C++ course, then I have a different playlist also that you can watch and understand on how C++ works. Because we are trying to do DSA, and this is very important for DSA or data structure. सर ये फुल कोर्स होगा ऊप्स में? हाँ, ये आज लास्ट क्लास है जिसमें हमारी ऊप्स आज खत्म हो जाएगी, ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग खत्म हो जाएगी. आप सेशन 1 से देखो, ये सेशन 5 है. आप सेशन 1 से देखो, एक घंटे में मैंने बहुत सारे चीज़ें कवर कर दी हैं ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड के अंदर. तो अगर आपको देखना है तो आप देख सकते हो सेशन 1 से, आपको सब कुछ समझ में आ जाएगा. अगर आपको फिर भी कुछ डाउट होता है, इफ़ यू हैव एनी डाउट्स, प्लीज़ टेल मी इन द कमेंट सेक्शन एंड आई विल बी देयर विथ यू to clear your doubts. मैं आपके लिए वीडियो बना दूंगा उस डाउट के लिए. I can create a full video onto it. Okay. So yes, you can rely on to this, and I have explained each and everything most probably in detail, which is required for you to solve questions or programs on DSA. Okay, this is DSA oriented, object oriented programming concepts, but actually in general this is enough for you to understand OOPS concept in C++. Okay, right, let us continue. So where I was on to you write same name function, same name multiple functions into two different classes or one same class. Then only you can achieve polymorphism. I hope so that this is very much clear to all of you. Correct? Okay. So in this case, I have explained this. How it is possible to make any function polymorphic in nature? You try to write the same name function either in the same class or into the two different classes, and then only you will be able to achieve polymorphism in nature. In this case, you see this capital function was written in two different classes. I have told this that there should be same name multiple functions which will be written either in the same class or in two different classes. In this case, two different classes. So I can say that polymorphism is achieved into that function. Clear? All right. Next up we are going to do we are trying to do polymorphism, but we need to, before we go ahead into this, we need to understand types of polymorphism. Types of polymorphism. So what are different types of polymorphism? Can you guess how many types of polymorphisms are there? You have two types of polymorphism. You have two types. Okay. Number one, you have compile time. Compile time polymorphism. Number two, you have runtime. Runtime polymorphism. Understand our point? Compile time and runtime. Okay. So what exactly is our compile time and what is exactly our runtime polymorphism? Let us go into the depth of this. Okay. So polymorphism can be of two types, majorly, officially, theoretically, or however you would like to say, compile time and runtime polymorphism. Okay. Now these two can be further understood into different words. For example, compile time polymorphism is also called as static polymorphism. On the other hand, runtime polymorphism is also called as dynamic polymorphism. Okay. Well, on compile time, this can also be called as early binding. Early binding. On the other hand, runtime can also be called as late binding. Late binding. Understood? Then, if we talk about the main things here, how they can be achieved, then yes guys, you heard it right. What you will do here? Overloading. Okay. And how you will do this runtime? Of course, overriding. Understood? In interviews, when this question is asked, what are the different types of polymorphism? Please do not say this, that overloading and overriding are the different types of polymorphisms. That will be wrong. See, there are only two types, and those are your compile time and runtime, as we have already understood this, compile time and runtime polymorphism. The difference is that, the thing is that compile time polymorphism is also called as static polymorphism or early binding. On the other hand, runtime polymorphism is also called as dynamic polymorphism or late binding. But they are achieved using overloading and overriding. If we talk about compile time polymorphism, then compile time polymorphism is achieved using overloading. Understood the point? It is achieved using overloading. On the other hand, runtime polymorphism is achieved using overriding. Using overriding. Clear? Is this clear to all of you? Very important concept. This is the place where most of the students they get confused. Always remember, compile time static or early, overloading. Okay. Runtime dynamic, late and riding. How to learn this? How to learn this? In the very beginning I have told you about compile time. Compile time, compiler. Here you have compile time, means at the time of compilation only everything will be fixed. That means it is static. Or in the compile time before runtime, compile time is early, right? So early binding. And overloading, you have to learn this. Overloading is going to be how the compile time is going to achieve it. Okay. Similar to that, the second part comes runtime, when you run your program after compilation, and that time, because it runs in runtime, it is called as runtime polymorphism, it is dynamic polymorphism. Understood? Now you remember I have done dynamic memory allocation. Dynamic memory allocation is used in the runtime. So dynamic, that a dynamic type of polymorphism. It is late binding because yes, it is done in the runtime or when the program is run after the compilation. This is the last step. And overriding is the way to achieve that. You understood this really well? I hope so that this is very much clear to all of you. Okay. We'll finish this off. Let us understand about the concepts quickly. First, we'll understand about compile time. Compile time. You see, what happens in compile time is that here polymorphism is resolved at compile time. Understood? Polymorphism is resolved at the compile time when the program is getting compiled. Okay. How come? What do we do? In this case, what do we do? Overloading, right? Overloading is the way to achieve compile time polymorphism, correct? Compile time polymorphism, correct? So this overloading happens at the compile time. Now there are things to remember here in this case. I said polymorphism that gets resolved at the compile time. Overloading is the way to achieve this. But how to achieve overloading? Overloading is achieved when, in the beginning guys, I told you that you have to write the same name multiple function in either two different classes, either in two different classes or in the same class, correct? I have written this. So when you do overloading, what happens? In overloading is achieved when you write, can you guess? Same name function in the same class, this is very much important, in the same class, clear, okay, in the same class. That is why you can relate it with overloading. In the same class, I am trying to keep multiple function at the same time, same class, hence the class has become overloaded. So hence overloading, you can learn it like this, understood? Overloading the same class. Overloading happens today. I said that you have to finish C also, C++ also, Java also, Python also, today only. I have overloaded you. I have overloaded who? You, the single person. So from here you learn single class. Understood? We know this, that polymorphism happens to be when you write the same name function in either two different classes or two same class, two different classes or one same class, one single class, right? When you write multiple function in the same class, that becomes overloading and that becomes compile time polymorphism. You understood this? And the opposite of this is runtime, where we use multiple functions in multiple classes. We will come to that very soon. Okay. Let us go towards our code and let us understand by writing some of the code here. So in the yesterday's class, I was doing this inheritance part and this was over. So I will create a class. By the way, let us start from India and USA example. I will say class India, and in this case I have said void capital, and in this case I have said cout, and I have printed New Delhi. Okay, correct, right, like this. And then I have created another class here called as class USA, and in this case, in this class USA, I have said the capital is Washington DC. Okay, understood? This is the program which I have shown you before on the board, on the whiteboard I have explained you. Let us create our main function, and in this main function I will say that we are going to create the India class object. So India obj of ind, like this I have created the object of India. USA, and I have said obj of USA, like this. Two objects are created, India object and USA object. Now when I say, acha, one more thing, they will not be able to access it. Why? Because public is not there. So do not forget to write the public also. After this you can say here obj of India dot capital, and you can say obj of USA dot capital. And when you run this program and when you try to print it, what happens is that first it prints New Delhi and then it prints Washington DC right there. You understood this very well? Any doubts into this? I hope so. No doubts. This is your basic polymorphism, where this is not exactly a overloading or overriding case. Okay. But in this case, what is happening is that this is good example where I can tell you that this capital function is now polymorphic in nature. Understood? Very well. Any doubts? No doubts. If you have any doubts, please do let me know in the comment section or the chat. I will clear those doubts. Alright. So this is a good example, but now let us actually go to compile time. So now we are going to do compile time polymorphism. In compile time polymorphism, what I had explained you, polymorphism that resolves at the compile time. Understood? Overloading is the way to achieve the compile time. And overloading, how it is achieved? It is achieved when you write the same name function in the same class. Are you getting my point? Understood? So now let us create a class called as, let's say, addition. I have created an addition class here. Just a class, normal class, regular class, addition, where I have written here two functions called as void add. Okay, void add. Here I have taken two variables, int a comma int b, and inside this I am saying return a plus b. Understood? Okay, this is going to be int add. Well, I told you that we write the same name function, same name multiple function in the same class. So I have written the same thing, right? This, like this. Understood? But then when I try to run the code, you see it should give me an error. I'll say int main, and I'll say that I'll create the class addition object, and then I'll say obj dot add. Okay, I passed 10 comma 20 as the parameter. You know what I'm doing is, now you see that a red squiggle is coming up, that means it is not recognizable, and when I run this, you see that declaration is private. Wait, public, okay, don't forget the public also. And when I run this, you see that it still doesn't work. Why? Because there are two same name function in the same class. Okay, one message was sent, sir, the previous video, I will make it public, guys. I will make it public, so stay tuned for it. As soon as this live session gets over, I will make that previous session 4 also public, so don't worry about it. Okay, I'll make it after the session gets over. Okay, now we are seeing the example of compile time polymorphism, where we write the same name function in the same class. Okay, so here in this case we had to add function written in the same class, and when we are trying to run it, it shows us an error. Why? Because in this case you see the everything is absolutely same. You see, you do anything, everything is absolutely same in this case. You see, here also it is taking up 2 parameters, and here also it is taking up 2 parameters. So the rule of polymorphism says that when it is overloading, when you write the same name function in the same class, there are 2 rules. Either when you have this 2 parameters, in that case you try to when it is when there are 2 parameters, at that time you either change the number of parameters in the second function, or you change the return type of the function. What I mean to say is, you see here, you have 2 parameters here also, and you have 2 parameters here also. Now in this case, when the 2 parameters are given, you see the ambiguity happens, means confusion is created which function has to be called first. Now in that case, what I will do is, I will change the number of parameter into the second one. Let us say, for example, here I have said a plus b plus c. So now the first function is of 2 parameters and the second function is of 3 parameters. Now this will not be confusing. Okay. So in this case, now I can say obj dot add, and I can give 3 numbers also, 10, 20, 30, like this. Okay, I can give, and because they are just returning and not doing anything, I am just gonna print them. So I am just gonna write here cout. Okay, understood this? So I am gonna write here also cout. Clear? Understood this? So when I run this code, you see that it prints 30 and it prints 60. Okay. Now in this case, what happens is that I am going to write here, let's say and L. Okay. So in this case, you see that first it is printing 30 and then it is printing 60. Okay guys. So this you see that I can safely say that this add function is polymorphic in nature, where it can take 2 values also and it can take 3 values also. Understood? The same add function can take 2 values also, and at the same time 3 values also. You have any doubts in this case? Please do let me know. Now in this case, there are 2 major things that you need to be taking care of. Let me just explain you what. You see, in terms of compile time polymorphism, either the number of parameter, the number of parameter will change, or if the parameter has to be same numbers, then their return types will change. Type should change. Either of the two rules has to be applied. Any one of the rule has to be applied in this case. Okay. You see here that in this case, here I had two parameters and here also had two parameters. So I cannot keep it like that. I had to add up the third parameter also in this case, so that there is no confusion between this and this. This is a whole separate function and this is a whole separate function. And when they are called, they do their own functionality, and hence the same name function is now able to do 3 values also, and the same function is able to do with 2 values also. This is compile time polymorphism, or this is, you can call it as function overloading, where we have tried to overload the functions in this case. How? By writing those same name functions into the same class. If you have any doubts, please do let me know. Is this very much clear to all of you? Right. Now, why the hell it is called as compile time polymorphism? Think about yourself as a compiler. You are a compiler and you are trying to compile this code, and you have scanned the whole code, and now you are thinking that, okay, I want to now compile this code. You saw that in the same class there are 2 same functions. So what you do is you try to resolve what function is going to do what in the compile time only. So in the compile time only it is decided that this function will add 2 numbers while this function will add 3 numbers and return it. Hope so that this is very much clear. Understood? That is the reason why it is called as compile time polymorphism or static polymorphism, because in the compile time it is made fixed that this function will do 2, this function will make 3. Understood this really well? No doubts into this? Very good. Let's move on to dynamic or runtime polymorphism. Now, speaking of dynamic or runtime polymorphism, when we are talking about that, let us talk about the runtime polymorphism. The runtime. Runtime happens when, in this case, the polymorphism is resolved in the runtime. In the runtime means it is decided what to do when the program runs. I hope so that this is very much clear of what I am trying to talk about. In this case, overloading is achieved. Overriding is used to achieve. Overriding is used to achieve runtime polymorphism. Okay, runtime polymorphism. Then question is how this overriding is achieved. Overriding is achieved when we write same name functions in 2 different classes. In overloading, we achieved overloading when we try to write the same name function in the same class, while taking care of those 2 rules, that if the same name functions are written in the same class, then the number of parameters will change or the return types will change. Understand? But on this other hand, in terms of runtime polymorphism, we try to write the same name function in 2 different classes, so you don't have to worry about those 2 rules you are applying. They are safe because they are into 2 different classes, but conditions applied in this case. Conditions applied. And what is that condition? inheritance should be applied. This is a very, very important note. Inheritance should be applied to achieve runtime polymorphism, to achieve overriding. Are you getting my point? Why? Let me explain you why with the help of a code here. So, as we know that in static polymorphism, what happens is that we try to write the same name function in the same class, while on the other hand we write the same name function in two different classes in terms of runtime. Clear? So, in this case it is clearly simple to understand that we have two classes here. Let us say we have a class called as mom, okay, class mom we have, and inside the mom class we have a method or function called as void cook, and let us say mom can cook, see out, mom can cook what? Let us say mom can cook Indian food, okay, mom can cook Indian food. Now, to better understand this and the easiest example to make you understand about runtime polymorphism, I will take a class called as daughter, class daughter. Now, the daughter class will also have the same exact name function inside her class also, but the daughter says that she will not cook Indian, she will cook, let us say Chinese, okay. Understand our point? She will cook Chinese. So, daughter said that she will not cook Indian, she will cook Chinese. So, what happens is that right now there is no inheritance involved in this case. So, you can say that daughter has her own cook method, on the other hand mom has her own cook method. Are you getting my point? But in this case, what did I tell you? What is the most important thing here? Inheritance should be implied. Inheritance should be applied. Because practically you think that how come daughter will learn to cook on her own? Well, mom will be the starting point where she will start learning from, right? So, if you talk about biological phenomenon here, daughter cannot learn cooking on her own, she has to inherit it from her mom. And yesterday we have learnt inheritance. In inheritance, the exact thing is copied to the child class, right? So, if mom is parent and if daughter is child, if mom is cooking Indian, then daughter should also cook Indian, right? Because it is inheritance and exact same thing will be copied. But this is the place where the game changes in polymorphism, guys. Listen to this and understand, try to understand this very carefully. I said that daughter started inheriting mom. Understood? So, I wrote the mom after the daughter class. Right here in this line, this is how we achieve inheritance, right? Yesterday we have understood this. So, in this case, daughter started inheriting mom. So, the mom cooks method is now transferred here, but daughter said no, I will not cook Indian, I will cook Chinese. So, this phenomenon of child mutating and changing something, an inherited method, is what you call as overriding. Overriding. Understand this with the help of an example. This is a very interesting example and this will explain you the whole concept of polymorphism in terms of overriding. First of all, runtime polymorphism. Listen to this very carefully, guys, what I am trying to say now. A small story I am going to tell you, and with this story you will understand what is runtime polymorphism. Okay. So, listen to this very carefully. So, when I was a child, when I, Ashang David, was a child, I did not had any mobile phone. But my dad, my father used to have a mobile phone. My father used to have a Samsung Galaxy S8. Okay. When I was a kid, I did not own any mobile phones. But my dad used to own a mobile phone that was Samsung Galaxy S8. Example. Listen to this. So if at that time when I was a child, if you would have asked me what phone do you have, I would have said Galaxy S8. Even though it is not my own private phone, but I do inherit my dad. So technically speaking, because of law of inheritance, my dad's phone is also my phone. Understood? When I was a child, I did not had any mobile phone, but my dad used to have a Samsung Galaxy S8. At that time, if you would have asked me what phone do you have, even though that Samsung Galaxy S8 is not my phone, it's my father's phone, but still I would say that it is my phone because I am inheriting it as a child of my parent. Understand a point? My parent had that. So inheritance says that copy all the properties from parent to the child. So in this case, at that time, when I was a child and if you would have asked me, I would have said that no, I had Samsung Galaxy S8 as my phone. But now when I am grown up, I have my own mobile phone. I have an iPhone now. Now if you would ask me, what phone do you have? I will not say Samsung Galaxy S8, I will say iPhone this time. Why? Because my iPhone has overridden my dad's Galaxy S8. Understand my point? This is a small story to understand this. What is overriding? Overriding is the process of when child overtakes or changes something from the parents as a property. In this case, inheritance should be implied in this case. So listen to this very carefully, guys, that runtime polymorphism happens when you try to write the same name function into different classes, but conditions applied, inheritance should be applied there, so that you can take it from the parent and then you change it in the child. If inheritance is not applied, it is not a runtime polymorphism. Now you might say, sir, what about India and USA example? In India and USA example, that was not a runtime polymorphism though, because there was no inheritance applied there. Because in runtime polymorphism, inheritance is very important, as I have explained you and showed you here. Are you getting my point? So in this case, inheritance is very, very important. Alright, is that clear to all of you? What I am trying to say is this is runtime polymorphism. Okay, so let us execute this code and try to finish this up. So I will say int main, and inside this int main, what I am going to do is I am going to let us say create the mom class object obj m. Let us say mom m. Okay. 1 minute, do not forget to write public. Okay. So mom m I have written and daughter d I have written. I have created the two objects and then I said m dot cook and then I said d dot cook. Okay, I have said m dot cook and d dot cook. When I said m dot cook, this cook method will print what? It will print mom's cook method, which is Indian. But when I say daughter cook method, so d dot cook, it will print Chinese, because now daughter's cook method has overridden mom's cooking method. I hope so that this is very, very much clear. So you can see it for yourself. When I run this code, first it prints Indian and then it prints Chinese. Is that clear to all of you guys? This is your runtime polymorphism. Officially speaking, polymorphism is over. Polymorphism, remember, in runtime polymorphism, what happens is that your inheritance is applied. Runtime polymorphism, the classes are different but the functions are same, but their bodies are changed. But in overloading or compile time, the same class, many different functions of the same name in this case. This is what you call as compile time and runtime. I hope so that you have understood this really well. If you have any doubts, please do let me know. I will continue. I will take more 15 minutes, but I need to change the battery of my camera. So I will take a break here for 2 minutes, guys. So stay with me, stay tuned till here. I am going to take the break here. We will be back very soon. We will be back very soon. Just the audio will be there, the video will be gone till 2 minutes. Okay. Taking a break for 1 minute and then we'll continue. Okay, so I hope so that we are back, guys. We are again back. We just had to change the battery, so battery of the camera's battery had to be changed. Now we have changed the battery and everything looks good. The stream looks good. We are okay. Are we back? The mic is back. Yeah, my voice is clear, guys. Again, I hope so that I'm audible. Please do let me know. Ashish Bansal. Alright. If you have any doubts, please do let me know. Stream looks good. People are there sitting watching, and yeah, my voice is also now came back. I hope so, right? Alright. So let us continue, guys. I'll take more 15 minutes to 20 minutes to finish up this object oriented course, and yeah, we will finish this off, then we will start with DS also. We need to start with DS as well. So let's continue. Alright, so we are on to, yes, good, very good. We are audible, right? Okay, alright. Let's continue to the next one. We are going to start with now, without wasting any time, we are going to start with abstraction now in C++. Very important concept, but it's a very easy as well, easy concept as well. Okay, there are two concepts here, that is going to be your abstraction and encapsulation. Let us talk about abstraction. Okay, abstraction. So we have two things here, abstraction and encapsulation. So what is abstraction? Sir, line 6 is not working. Line 6 is not working. Okay, let us check. Which line? This line, line 6 in my code, or your code? My code works fine. We have checked it out right now. See, it works fine. It might be possible that you might have written something wrong. So please do check it again if you're doing with me. Check, you have created the class. You have created the class, and inside that, in the public section of the class, you have written this same name function, and in the same thing you have done with another class here. Okay, and there also the same name function has to be written here. If you think that a red squiggle line is coming, then try adding this public before your inherited class, so that it starts working. It will work, it will work. It has to work. How it will not work? It is working for me. It's not possible. It will work, guys. Don't worry. We will find the solution. It might be some small mistake that you might have done it, but it is easy to solve. Don't worry. Is the code working now? Is the code working now? All right. Okay. Let us see. Please do let me know if there is any other issue also. Okay. Let us continue with abstraction here without wasting any time. So already it is 1 hour crossed. So we need to finish this off now. Alright, so let us start with abstraction here, guys. And abstraction means, you see, listen to this very carefully what I am going to say now next. Okay. Here we have 2 more pillars remaining, that is abstraction and encapsulation. Now both abstraction and encapsulation can be taken into consideration or understood in the same example. The same example. How? Take an example of a medicinal capsule. Have you seen a medicinal capsule before? It looks somewhat like this. Okay. And inside that medicinal capsule, some medicine particles are kept. Looks somewhat like this, correct? Some medicine is kept. Correct? We are very curious to open it, but we are not able to open it. Sometimes we open it, but this is how your medicinal capsule looks like, right? Everyone has seen a medicinal capsule before. Okay. So from this same example only, we can understand what is abstraction and encapsulation. Okay. Here I will write encapsulation. Okay. Try to understand what is this. Abstraction here means hiding. On the other hand, encapsulation means wrapping. Wrapping up of data. Wrapping up of what? Data. And here hiding up of what? Again data. Again data. Data is the main thing here, guys. We are trying to hide and we are trying to wrap. Both. What? Data. Take an example of a medicinal capsule. Now these small particles which you see inside, these small particles are what? These are medicines, right? These medicines cannot be put into or shaped into hard pills. So what happens is that we try to store it in a capsule, so that you see the medicine which is kept inside these capsules are so much delicate that they are vulnerable to outside weather conditions and temperatures, so that their composition can change accidentally. Understand my point? So to protect them from outside conditions and things like that, temperature, we had wrapped them into a capsule, and this is the place from where the word encapsulation is born, from a capsule, where we have tried to wrapping up of data inside a capsule. Understand my point? Where data here is our medicine and the capsule on the other hand is the wrapping or the casing of that medicine. And when we try to do that, what happens is that the medicine is now protected from outside weather conditions or temperatures or whatever. So it is called as encapsulation or wrapping up of data. Why do we do that? So that it cannot be accidentally modified. Okay, so that it cannot be accidentally modified. The same thing goes to our programs. We try to encapsulate everything inside the class so that they cannot be accidentally modified or unnecessarily be accessed by anyone, any unwanted person. Are you getting my point? So for that reason we try to do encapsulation. Encapsulation is the main reason of having security in our program. Security in our program is mainly achieved due to encapsulation and abstraction. I hope so that this is very much clear. On the other hand, when you do encapsulation, automatically abstraction is achieved. Automatically. Why and how? You try to keep something or wrap something inside, it is hidden from the main person. Are you getting my point, what I am trying to say? When you try to hide something, when you try to wrap something, when you do wrapping of something, it also is hidden at the same time. And when it is hidden, it is not seen by anyone. And when it is not seen by anyone, it is another reason of security having there. Okay? Here we are trying to hide our data by again doing encapsulation only, which provides security together. So both encapsulation and abstraction can be seen in one single example, in fact in one single same program itself, wherever you are doing in abstraction. I hope so that this is very much clear to all of you, correct? So in this case what happens is that encapsulation and abstraction are the two main reasons behind the security of a program in C++, or in fact in any object oriented programming, specifically talking about OOPS concept here. That means according to this, Java is also a very secure programming language, Python is also a secure language, but C is not secure. Why? Because C does not have these security features or object oriented features available for us to use. I hope so that you are getting my point, what I am trying to say in this case. So this is your understanding of encapsulation and abstraction. So according to the definition, English definition, encapsulation is the way of wrapping up of data so that the data cannot be accidentally modified. On the other hand, we are trying to do abstraction or hiding up of data so that the user, or in this case the main function, does not see anything, the data, and it only worries about its functionality. Here understanding about functionality is very at most important thing. Chalo, you have understood about encapsulation. On the other hand, if we are talking about abstraction, where abstraction we are trying to hide the data and we are trying to show its functionality of that into the environment. In this case, take an example in real life. Now, the wrapping up of data or medicine inside this capsule is encapsulation, at the same time it is hidden, so it is abstracted. But what is the main use of abstraction? Why to hide? Why are we trying to hide medicine from you? So that when a patient takes that medicine, he or she will not think about what they are eating, but they think about that I want to cure myself. Are you getting my point? I want to cure myself, so I am eating this capsule, but I am not eating it because I am very curious about what that capsule contains inside it. Are you getting my point, what I am trying to say in this case? So this is what abstraction means. Abstraction means hiding up our data or something so that the user only thinks about its functionality, not the implementation or the data. So data is automatically secured, and our other thing is also. So take another example. You are chatting with someone on WhatsApp. Okay, you are chatting with someone on WhatsApp. While you are chatting, do you worry about what code is running behind in that chat? No, right? Because you are busy chatting, because you are thinking about its functionality, because code is hidden from you. If code was visible to you, you might have started fidgeting around with the code and trying to edit it, see what happens, but you cannot do that because code is secured. If code is secured means it is encapsulated and it is hidden from you, so that you cannot directly see that, but you think about its functionality. This is what you call as abstraction. On the other hand, take one more example. You woke up in the morning. You wanted a coffee. You pressed a button and you got a coffee from your coffee machine. You are happy drinking that coffee. Did you worry about how that coffee was made? No. We don't give a damn about how the coffee was made, because the process of making the coffee inside a coffee machine is hidden. You are just happy with the taste and you are happy with I am getting coffee in just 2 minutes. Understand my point? This is abstraction. You are thinking about its functionality rather than its implementation, hence the data or the code is secured. hence achieving security. I hope so that this is very, very much clear to all of you. Understood? Now, let's start programming onto it and understand how it works. Okay. So, what can I do in this case? What can I do in this case? What can I do in this case? Okay, let's try to achieve both encapsulation and abstraction. Okay. So, first understand encapsulation also of how you can do it. Okay. Okay, so talking about the code part, coding of abstraction and encapsulation, sir, how we can do it? So, see, we can do it like this. We can do it like this. That we can say, I'll tell you. So, to achieve abstraction and encapsulation, both, we need to make use of private keyword. Private keyword. Okay. Private is what? It is an access specifier. You know what it is already, correct? Till now we have used public only everywhere, and I tried to tell you that write public everywhere in the program. Why? Because otherwise it will be inaccessible. Inaccessible means when it is private, and when anything is inaccessible, it is automatically abstracted and encapsulated both, because they work together. In this case, I have explained you with the help of an example. So, you can say that whenever encapsulation is achieved, automatically abstraction is also achieved at the same time. Is that clear to all of you guys? Right? Continue. So, in this case, if let us say you have a class, let us say called as a student, and a student has an attribute called as int marks, and you want to hide them. What do? You make that marks variable private. Inside the private you will write int marks. Clear? Inside the private section of the class you will say int marks. If you want a public section also, you can have a public section also, no worries. You can do it like this. You can do it like this. You can have a public section also, where you have maybe string name you have. Okay. But let us say in the private section you have marks, which has to be hidden, and in the public section you have name, which is available to be seen by everyone. So, I can say this part is what? Encapsulated. And abstracted both. I can say encapsulated and abstracted both. Clear? Now, you might have seen one error coming here, that whenever you make anything private, you get this error. You get the error saying that it is inaccessible. You might have got this right many a times. How? Why? Because of course, if it is inaccessible, it is private, means it is inaccessible, means you cannot access it, then of course it will be not accessible. So, what do we learn here in today's class? In this part, we learn how to access a private member of a class. This is the question. How to access the private member of the class. Let's try to understand that. To do this, guys, To do this, guys, what you need to do, you need to create getters. Remember this, guys, there are only two ways. Okay, two things, two functions. There is only one way and two functions. What are those? Getters and setters. If you are a computer science engineer and if you have done computer science engineering and if you have studied C++ or Java, you might have 110% heard about getters and setters, but you might not remember it. And for those people who have never done in computer engineering and they are not from computer background, you might have not heard about this. But today let me explain you what exactly is this. You see, when something is private, when some variable is private or some member of the class is private, in that case it cannot be accessed by anyone directly, but indirectly we can create getters and setters as a function which can be written in public section of the class, which can be as third party middle person through which we can access by getting the values or setting the values into a private member. It's like now it's now like a private function or a private variable is put up behind the bars or jail and you cannot meet them. But there is a third person to whom you are sitting in the public section. This is you and that is the private section. Okay, there is one guy standing here. Okay, this guy is private. This is a jail. Private is like jail. You have kept a person into a jail that is private and you want to meet them, but you cannot meet them because you are inaccessible to that jail. So what do? You go to a middleman. This middleman is your getter or setter person who allows you to interact with your guy which is in private. In this case, this is your getters and setters in this simple example. I hope so that this is very, very much clear. Now getters or setters are also kept inside public only. These are all in public, understood? But this private, actually this is all public, but this is what? It's private. So nobody can access it, only this has some probability of accessing, that is your getters and setters. Understand my point? I hope so that this is very, very much clear to all of you. This is your getters and setters. So how do you write a getter or setter? Let us talk about it. So say for example, you in the private section, you have a int marks as a private variable. Okay, you want to access this. You want to do what? You want to access this. How you do access this? To access it or to get the values, we use getter. To get or fetch the data from a private member, you use a getter function. And if you want to set a value into it, you use a setter function used to set the value inside that private member. Okay, set the value, or you can say data, much better. This is your setter. Okay, setters are used to set the value. On the other hand, getters are used to get the value. Okay, so when you have a private member of the class, you want to get the value inside, stored inside it, you use the getter. If you want to set the value, use setter. Understood? The name getters and setter came from that only. Simple English. Okay. All right. Now, understanding about the syntax of that getters and setters. Talking about the getter syntax. A getter syntax is gonna be like this. You start by writing the return type. Okay, you start by writing the return type, because what is the return type of a private member? Int. So you will write the return type int. Now you can take any name, but I'm going to take a logical name. Let's say get name. I have taken it like this. You can take anything, A, B, C, D, whatever you want to take, you can take it. Okay, but I am taking a logical name. You should also take a logical name. In computer ethics, you should know about this. In coding ethics, you should know about this, that your name should be logical enough. So I am going to create the getter function for getting the marks. So I will be writing get marks, not name, get marks, because it is marks that is private, no? So get marks. Okay. Nothing will be kept inside the parenthesis of this function. Is why? Because it is not taking anything as a parameter or an attribute. In this case, it will do only one thing, and what it will do? Return what? Marks, that private member. You might be wondering about how the hell it can return the marks. Yes, it can return the marks because it is written in the same class as that private variable. Understand the point? So it is written in the same scope as that private scope. So it has access to it, but anything coming from outside doesn't have the access to it, and hence that getter is able to take that and return it from that private scope of the class to the public scope of the program. Understood? And for that reason only we use getters like this. So that's it. This is your getter syntax or getter function for int marks. Function signature goes like this: is the return type int and returning the marks which is of int type, and that's it. Very easy. Very easy. Okay. Now we have, on the other hand, setter. So let me talk about the syntax for setter. Now this is a little bit confusing if you have not studied about constructor. Okay, ignore that voice. Okay. Okay, but here in this case we have this setter. Okay. So in this case, what can be the setter function of a int marks? Imagine int marks is what? It is private. Right now it is private. It is what? It is private. It is what? It is private. So in this case, 1 minute guys, Awaz. Okay, let's continue. Let's continue. Now that voice will not be an issue. You've closed the window. Alright, let's continue. Okay, so we have int marks, which is private. Okay, now you understood how to take the value or get the value from the in private member, but I said now you have to take the put the value, set the value. How do you set the value? You write void. Always remember, any setter function will always have void as the return type, because setter functions are used to set the value, only setting, not get. Get will return, but set will not return. Understand my point? This is what I wanted to explain. Is that clear? So I said void, I took a logical name, set marks. Set marks. Void set marks, and it is going to take the value from the user. So I'm going to give a variable here called as, let's say, int m something, whatever, something. Understand? You can take m, or you can take marks, or you can take any variable of your choice, a, b, c, d, whatever. Okay. Now inside it, what we will do? We will say this marks. I can say this dot or this arrow marks is equals to m, this one. That is it. If your variable name and the attribute names are not same, then you can skip this. To understand more on this, it is like a constructor. So if you have missed the constructor class, watch our session 2. There I have explained you all in depth about constructors. So I can say that a setter is like, it is safe to say that setter is like a mini constructor. But guys, I am just writing this to only explain you. I am trying to explain you this. So please do not say this in interview that setter is a mini constructor. No. Ashank sir did not told you that it is a mini constructor. To explain you, to make you understand, I said it is a mini constructor. So those people who did not understand this, please watch our session 2. It is 1 hour class full of constructors, explanation and understanding about constructors, how they work. Also I have explained you destructors, which is there in C++, but not in any other language like Java or anything. But destructors are there in C++, I have explained you there also. So please do watch our session 2 of this C++ mastering OOPS, right? There I have explained you. So session number 2 and session number 3, some parts they are there, that are there. This is just to explain you, warning I am giving you. Please do not say this in front of the interview. But if you know how constructors they work, this is how the setters will also work. So if you are not creating the constructor, then it's up to you, you create the setters, you have to create the setters. If you don't have the setters, then your constructor itself is the biggest setter of the whole program. You got my point? Understood this guys really well? I hope so that this is very much clear. Okay. Let's look at our stream, how our stream is going on. It's going on good. Till now we've got 782 views. But I hope so that this is very much clear. Okay. Alright. So let's continue with the code now. I'm gonna explain you with the code. Okay. So let's go to the code and we will try to code for it. So let us start with a class, let's say student. Okay. I'll try with the student class in this case, and I will say that yes, let's take only one parameter here. Let's create many actually. Let's create many. I'll say public, and inside this public I'll say string name, and in private I'll say int marks. Now you see here guys that I have two sections of the class. One is public section and another is private. It's better I'll move the private just above the public here, because I can just declare all the things private here and then I can create a constructor over here. Okay. So I'm going to create a constructor here called as a student, and in this case I'll say the name, the string name. That's it, because I cannot set the value directly into the marks because it is private. In this case I'll say this of marks equals marks. Okay, got it? And yep. Now in the public section itself I have this private member called as marks. So what I'll do is I'll create a getter function. So to create a getter function, now one more thing guys, it's up to you. If you are creating a getter or if you are creating a setter, it's up to you. It's up to you. It's not necessary that you have to create both getters and setters. if you create only getters, your program will become read only. If you create setters only, then it will become write only. So it's up to you how you want to do it. But I am going to create both. So let us create our setters first. So how do we create our setters? Void setters, void set marks I have said, and here I have said that do some int m, give some int m, okay, and I said that this of marks equals to m. Oh sorry, by mistake in the names I have said this dot marks, it should be name equals to name. Yeah, that is what I am doing some mistake here. Yeah, that is what I was realizing, I am doing some mistake and nobody was saying anything on this. But anyways, you got my point. So it's for the constructor, this is what it's our constructor. Okay, this is the marks setter, okay, function. And later on, if I want to do this, I can create int get marks, which is gonna be returning the marks. I hope so that this is very, very much clear to all of you. All right, let's do one thing. Let us create our main function. You see, what I've done is I've created a class student, where in the private section of the student class we have marks, which is private, and then public is the name. So name is already set. When the object will be created, the constructor will be called and the name will be set. So how the name will be set in this case? So I said that let us create the student. So I said student of obj or S1 for student 1. In this case, in the constructor call, I gave my name as I am the student here, okay, for example. Okay, now I said I have a marks which is private here. So I need to set my marks also. So I will say S1 dot get set marks, S1 dot I will say set marks, and I will pass some value, let us say 50. So what happens is that this 50 will go to this set marks m, which will be set to this marks which is private in this case. So this is how you use setters actually. You understand our point? And if I want to print the marks, that means I will say cout, because why I have sent cout, because get marks I will call now here, but it is returning doesn't mean printing. So I will have to say cout and I will say get marks, get not termination, get marks. Everything's looking fine, but it still doesn't work. Oh yeah, get marks function like this I will be calling. Okay, why it is not? Oh okay, I will say S1 dot S1 dot. Okay, so now what happens is that marks is printed. If I want to print my name also, we can print the name as well. So I can say cout the name in this case. Is that clear? I will say S1 dot name, okay, and here also I will say end L. So it looks nicer in this case, and you see that the marks are printed and Ashank is also printed. So guys, this is how you do it. Now you see that in this case marks are actually being used, but nobody can see marks. You can see that in the main function also, when I say S1 dot, marks are not available, but get marks and set marks are there. This get marks and set marks are the third person standing in front of the marks which is hidden. Marks are not available, but yes, student name is available because name is inside public. I hope so that this is very, very much clear to all of you. Now if you don't want to create the setter, or you can leave the setter, but you have to then create the constructor. I hope so that this is very, very much clear. Well, this is how you will do abstraction and encapsulation. I can say that not only marks is encapsulated, but now it has become abstracted also. It is hidden from the main function. In interviews, this question will be asked. In encapsulation, In encapsulation, we try to hide our data, but hide from whom? Hide from whom? We hide it from the main. So that main function doesn't see that, and when it doesn't see that, it is a straightforward, simple, nobody can access it, nobody can change it until they have the access to the set marks. If you don't want to give this access to the set marks, delete the set marks. Use the constructor, set the value through the help of the constructor. As soon as the object will get instantiated, it will be setting up the value, and no one will be able to change it later on. Well, this is how it is created, this is how it is done. And finally guys, we have come to an end to this live stream, and we have finished up our mastering C++ object oriented course. This is of 5 sessions, and today's last session was the longest session in fact, and in another 20 minutes I have to come back online for DSA live. So if you are interested in learning DSA from me, please do attend DSA class also. I can see that the strength was good here, and people were there watching me, and they also understood a lot of things. So if you like this live stream, please give us a thumbs up, and please do share this stream to most of the people around you, so that this streams gets our YouTube algorithm also gets pushed, and my videos also come up while we get support from you guys, and at the same time you also learn something from us. This is Ashank David. I'll be ending up this live stream. Now this live stream is over. This was for only 1 week, and I today took a little bit of longer time to finish up this. Now this stream is finally over. So if anybody wants to learn about this live, if anybody wants to learn about mastering the object oriented course, then please do come and understand about this live stream. There are 5 videos. If you do 5 videos, then you will be able to master the C++ object oriented part. This which is required actually for DSA is now over. We will continue only in DSA class, and yeah, this was the last session for our C++ live. In future, if you want, I can come and again create more videos and come live for a different technology. Please do let me know in the comment, and our social media platforms also. Follow us on Telegram also, join our Telegram channel, follow us onto our social media platforms, and thank you so much again guys for having me in this live session, and I was able to teach you about C++ object oriented programming. I wish you all the best guys, and we have finally finished this up. I will see you guys again back in DSA session. So those people who are learning DSA for the first time, please do let us know, and if you have any doubts, you please let us know in the comment section. Again, I'll be there, so don't worry about it. You can call me anytime, anywhere. I'll be there to solve your doubts. Keep learning, and that's all for this live stream guys. Thank you so much for giving all this love to this live stream. I'll be signing off. I'll see you sometime again in another live stream. Thank you guys.